That's a true story. Some days you just can't win. We can't always get what we want. But maybe getting what we want really isn't all that important. Maybe there's something else. You see, in spite of that valley of the shadow of death language in the 23rd Psalm, there is a positive ending to the psalm. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long. One of the dangers of being a pastor is eventually people figure it out. Of course, having one Rev as your license plate does not help the situation. Nevertheless, inevitably, folks, when they know this, will want to talk about God. I found this flying. I used to fly quite a lot. I don't do it much anymore, but it used to be I was real important and flew all over the country and all that jazz. And one of the things you learn real quick is when you're sitting next to your seatmate, you kind of get to know each other a little bit. If they find out you're a preacher, either they shut right up and don't want to have anything to do with you and don't even look at you the whole flight, or you get just the opposite. They want to tell you every little thing that's ever happened to them, including going all the way back to some event that happened in Sunday school when they were 5. It's one or the other. Anyway, and in all these conversations, over a lot of years now, I've had a lot of folks tell me that they just can't believe in God. And when you kind of parse it out a little bit, it's because, nearly all of them will say, when it's all said and done, because in living there is just too much pain. And the logic, and there is a logic to this. I can't argue with it. How could a living, loving God, a God who created everything that is, allow things to be so bad? How could a loving God allow death, sickness, misfortune, and pain in living? And these folks generally will come to the conclusion a loving God couldn't do that. And I have no interest in believing in that kind of God. And if you stop there, what they say makes a lot of sense. The problem is, these folks have not learned or have not encountered the story or the awareness that the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob is not a God who gives us what we want. Our God is a God who gives us what we need. Well, what do we need? Well, like my Lutheran friend at the graveside, we all need, in one way or another, to be lifted out of the grave of our human mortality. We need lifting out of the desolate pit, the miry bog. What we need is a shepherd. The problem is, most of us don't want a shepherd. You see, we like to do things on our own. My grandson Diego, some of you guys got to meet him on Thursday, and that kid, we get out of a car in a parking lot, and he just takes off. And he's a high-energy kid. He needs to hold somebody's hand, especially in parking lots. Half of all accidents happen in parking lots. Something like that. A kid in a parking lot's a dangerous thing without holding a hand. They're not looking. But he doesn't want a shepherd. He doesn't want somebody holding their hand. We like, I'm speaking autobiographically here mostly, I make a mess of it. We need a shepherd. I had a friend, this has been several years ago, had opportunity to study abroad, and they studied in Scotland. They were up in the Highlands. And when she came home, we were looking at pictures. She was showing me the pictures of the place because I'd never been there. And in one of the pictures, there was a dead sheep laying along the road. And I said something. I said, "What happened there?" And she said, "Those are all over the place." You know how when you travel, different cultures do things differently. And I'm like, really? You don't see dead livestock laying around here. In fact, on my way down here, they had a traffic stop on 270. There was a police officer chasing a goose. Kid you not. We all had to stop. It was up by door. You know, everybody's putting on the brakes because this police officer's trying to shoo a goose out of the middle of the traffic, you know, and here is this dead Scottish sheep, and I said something about it. She said, well, you know, they raise a lot of sheep. It's a rural area. They don't build fences there. And they don't use sheepdogs. They don't even bother to watch the animals. Well, this comes as no surprise then. Some of them wander into the roadway and get killed. They don't stand a chance. That happens in life too. That happens here in Festus. Now we have fences and we have sheepdogs and shepherds. But the sheep keep wandering onto the road of life and perishing. And that's what happens to Alex in the Big Chill. He's not rolled over by an automobile, but he's rolled living. He's stuck in the miry bog, never to be listed out. You see, Alex didn't get what he wanted, and I don't think he got what he needed either. He needed a shepherd. Somebody to call to him in the midst of his despair, to lift him out of that desolate pit. Somebody to care enough to reach out to him in the midst of the pain he was feeling. Do we get what we want in life? But what we need is always available, and a lot of people out there do not understand this. You see, it may not be what we want, it may not be something we think we need, but the bottom line is we need a shepherd. Somebody to care for us in the good times when the grass is green and the sky is blue and we think we did that. We need somebody to warn us, to hold the hand when you get out of the car in the parking lot. And we need someone to care for us in the hard times too, when the night is dark and the day is foggy and we don't know where to turn. We need a shepherd. If we sit still and we listen, a still, calm, sweet voice comes to us, calls us, reaches out to us, looks for us, inviting us to come out of the darkness. And that voice waits for our response. When my kids were little, one of our favorite games before that time was hide and seek. I have 3 daughters. The 2 are older and close in age, and then our youngest was a couple years younger. So maturity-wise, we were kids. She was quite a bit younger. And anyway, as we kind of played different nights, as they were growing up, they got to be pretty good, hiders. So much so that I had trouble finding them sometimes. The thing we always yelled at home was alley, alley, out, or in free. I don't know if they do that in Festus. That's always what we said. And I, have to find it. Except for my youngest, Crease. That's the one that's getting married here in the fall. Finding Crease was never, ever hard. Partly because the kid's just noisy. She has not lost that as she's become an adult. But, you close your eyes and you could hear right where she was going in the house. But partly because Crease never picked hiding places that were hard to find. And I thought at first it was just not the sharpest tool in the shed. To say this about your own offspring. Probably took after me. She certainly didn't take after her mother. But the reality is Crease used to play hide and seek with a different set of rules. In fact, I'd hear her hide like in the bedroom closet, and I'd go into every other room first. She used to get mad about that. And if I would do that, next thing she'd be going, boop, making a noise, boop, trying to get my attention, because for Carice, the fun wasn't in the hiding. The fun was in the getting found. That's what she enjoyed, which is why she never hid very well. find her, and she wanted you to find her first. Someone is looking for you. Someone wants to share with you the joy of being found. How do you respond as you sit in your own miry pit? Because we all have one. We don't talk about it in polite company, but we do. You sit quiet as a mouse, afraid of whoever it is that's doing the searching, that's doing the calling. Maybe a little embarrassed if you've got a little mud on your clothes. Or have you just gotten comfortable? Sitting there in the pit, slowly sinking to death. You see, someone's looking for you. A shepherd who cares. But that shepherd can only find you if you want to be found. If you're willing to risk. If you're willing to give up what you want. And accept what you really need. The love of God and the grace of Jesus Christ. Amen. Our invitation hymn